No one warned Sora about the town. Not because they didn't know what it was, but because nothing about it sounded dangerous when spoken out loud. It was described as quiet, safe, orderly, the kind of place people moved to when they were tired of chaos. Sora had been tired for a long time. She arrived on a gray morning, the sky low and unmoving, as if even the weather had decided not to cause trouble. The town sat between gentle hills, clean streets winding neatly between rows of modest homes. No graffiti, no broken windows, no noise that didn't belong. The sign at the entrance read, "Welcome to Siren." Below it, in smaller letters, "A community built on trust." Sora noticed the flowers first. They were everywhere, carefully planted, perfectly maintained. Not a single wilted leaf. It gave the town an unsettling sense of effort, as if beauty here wasn't natural, but enforced. As she parked her car near the center square, something else caught her attention. People smiled. Not the polite, fleeting smiles of strangers passing by, but long ones, warm ones, the kind that lingered a second too long, as if they were waiting for something in return. Sora told herself she was imagining it. She had grown used to suspicion. Years in the city had taught her to expect indifference at best, hostility at worst. A place like this felt unreal, like a staged set meant to convince you everything was fine. A woman approached her almost immediately. She was around Sora's age, maybe early 30s, dressed simply in light colors, her posture relaxed in a way that felt practiced. "You must be new," the woman said gently. Sora nodded. "I just arrived." "I'm Yeren," she said, extending her hand. "Welcome to Siren." Her grip was firm but comforting. Her smile didn't waver. "I'm Sora." Yeren's eyes lit up slightly, as if Sora's name had confirmed something. "We've been expecting you." Sora blinked. "You have?" Yeren laughed softly. "Of course. New arrivals are rare. We make sure they're taken care of." That word again. Taken care of. Before Sora could respond, another voice joined them. "You picked a good day to arrive." A man stood nearby, tall, calm, with an expression so neutral it was almost soothing. He introduced himself as Junha, a community coordinator. "We like to make sure no one feels lost here," he said. "Everything works better when people feel supported." Sora thanked them, unsure what else to say. Within minutes, others appeared. Not all at once. One by one. A woman offering directions. An older man insisting on carrying Sora's suitcase. A couple inviting her to dinner that evening. It was overwhelming. Kindness layered on kindness until it felt less like generosity and more like pressure. Still, Sora smiled and accepted. Because rejecting kindness always felt worse than accepting it. Her new apartment was small but spotless. No dust. Nowhere. It looked as if no one had ever lived there before, or as if every trace of the previous occupant had been carefully removed. That thought lingered longer than it should have. Later that evening, Sora attended the welcome dinner. The room was full, yet quiet. Conversations flowed easily but never overlapped. People listened when others spoke. Laughed at the right moments. Agreed often. Very often. Sora noticed something strange. No one complained. Not about the food. Not about the weather. Not about work or life or anything at all. When Sora mentioned the long drive, several people nodded sympathetically, but none shared their own frustrations. As if hardship here was something to be acknowledged, but not explored. Junha stood at the front of the room at one point, raising a glass. "To Sora," he said warmly. "May Siren bring you the peace you deserve." Everyone echoed the toast. The word peace hung in the air, heavy and deliberate. That night, Sora lay awake in her apartment, staring at the ceiling. The town was silent. Not the comfortable silence of sleep, but a deliberate one. No distant sirens. No arguing voices. No sudden sounds. Just stillness. She told herself this was what safety felt like. Yet her chest felt tight. The next morning, Sora decided to explore. She walked the streets slowly, noticing details others might miss. The way people made eye contact, but never stared. The way doors were often left unlocked. The way children played without supervision, and without conflict. At a small cafe, Sora struck up a conversation with a barista named Salmon. "It must be nice," Sora said casually, "living somewhere so peaceful." Salmon smiled. "It is. We work very hard to keep it that way." "Work?" Sora asked. Salmon paused. "Just briefly." "Care," she corrected. "We care." Sora nodded, though something about the correction unsettled her. As the days passed, Sora settled into routine. People checked on her daily, asked how she was adjusting, offered help she didn't ask for. Too much attention for someone who valued solitude. One afternoon, Sora noticed something else. A man sitting alone on a bench near the edge of town. He didn't smile. He didn't greet anyone. People passed him politely, but no one stopped. It was the first time Sora had seen someone here who didn't quite fit. She approached him slowly. "Hi," she said. The man looked up, surprised. His name was Taesung. "I don't see you at gatherings," Sora said carefully. Taesung hesitated, glancing around before speaking. "Some of us don't participate as much anymore." "Why not?" Sora asked. Taesung studied her face, as if deciding how honest he could afford to be. "Because participation here isn't optional forever," he said quietly. Before Sora could ask what he meant, footsteps approached. Junha appeared beside them, smiling as always. "Sora," he said warmly, "we've been looking for you. You missed the afternoon meeting." "Meeting?" Sora frowned. "I didn't know there was one." Junha's smile didn't change. "There always is." Taesung stood up quickly. "I should go," he muttered. Junha placed a hand on Taesung's shoulder, gently, reassuringly. "Take care of yourself," he said. Taesung nodded and walked away without another word. As Sora followed Junha back toward the center of town, she felt something shift inside her. This place wasn't dangerous because it was cruel. It was dangerous because it was kind. And everyone trusted it. That was the problem. Sora began to notice the rules by watching how people broke them. Not openly, not defiantly, but accidentally. The first time was small enough that she almost missed it. It happened during a morning gathering in the town square. These gatherings weren't announced. People simply knew when to arrive. Chairs were already arranged. Tea was already poured. Conversations paused naturally as Junha stepped forward. No one told Sora to attend. Yet somehow, she always found herself there. Junha spoke calmly, as always, about shared responsibility, about harmony, about the importance of addressing concerns early, before they became disruptions. No one argued. No one questioned. When he finished, the group dispersed smoothly, as if on cue. Sora lingered behind, distracted by a notification on her phone. That was when she heard it. A laugh. Too loud. It came from a man standing near the edge of the square. He was younger than most, maybe mid-20s, dressed casually, leaning back against a bench. His laughter wasn't rude, exactly. It was just out of place. Too sharp for Siren's soft air. The people nearest to him froze. Not dramatically. Just enough to be noticed. The laughter stopped abruptly, as if the man had suddenly realized where he was. Junha turned toward him. He didn't look angry. That was the unsettling part. "Is everything all right?" Junha asked gently. The man straightened. "Yeah. Sorry. Just remembered something funny." Junha nodded. "Humor is healthy. Timing is important too." The man smiled awkwardly. "Right." Junha stepped closer, lowering his voice, though everyone could still hear. "We'll talk later," he said. Not a threat. Not a command. A promise. Sora watched as the man nodded, relief visible on his face. As if being noticed was better than being ignored. That afternoon, Sora didn't see him again. She didn't think much of it, until she realized she never saw him again at all. At first, she assumed he had moved away. But no one talked about it. No goodbye. No explanation. No curiosity. When Sora casually mentioned him to Yeren a few days later, the response was strange. "The young man by the bench?" Yeren asked, her tone neutral. "Yes," Sora said. "I realized I haven't seen him since." Yeren smiled. "Then the process worked." Sora frowned. "What process?" Yeren tilted her head slightly. "Adjustment." The word landed heavily. "Adjustment to what?" Sora pressed. Yeren studied her face carefully, then softened her voice. "Siren only works because we help each other stay aligned," she said. "Sometimes that means extra support." Support. That word again. Sora didn't push further. Not yet. She was learning that questions here had weight. As the weeks passed, Sora became increasingly aware of how carefully people monitored themselves. Conversations stayed light. Opinions remained agreeable. Disagreements dissolved before forming. Even children corrected themselves. Once, Sora heard a young girl begin to protest during a game. "That's not." She stopped mid-sentence, looked around, then smiled and said, "Never mind." No adult intervened. They didn't need to. That night, Sora couldn't sleep. She replayed moments in her mind, The laughter, the correction, the disappearance. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You're adjusting well." Her breath caught. She stared at the screen, waiting for more. Nothing came. The next morning, Junha stopped by her apartment. Unannounced but expected. "I hope we're not overwhelming you," he said, standing just outside her doorway. He never stepped inside without being invited. "We just like to check in with new residents." Sora nodded. "I understand." Junha smiled. "Good." They walked together through the streets, his pace matching hers perfectly. "Siren attracts people who are tired," Junha said conversationally. "People who want stability, predictability, control." Sora asked before she could stop herself. Junha paused, just for a fraction of a second. "Control is a harsh word," he said gently. "We prefer guidance." "Guidance toward what?" Sora asked. Junha gestured around them. "Peace." They stopped near the edge of town, the same place where Sora had met Taesung. The bench was empty now. "He used to sit here," Sora said quietly. "Yes," Junha replied. "Where is he?" she asked. Junha turned to face her fully. "Taesung struggled," he said. "He resisted alignment." Sora's chest tightened. "What does that mean?" "It means he needed help." "What kind of help?" Junha's voice remained calm. "The kind that requires privacy." Sora felt a chill. That evening, Sora sought out Salmon at the cafe. She lowered her voice. "Has anyone ever left Siren?" Salmon hesitated, then smiled. "Why would they?" she said. "That's not an answer," Sora replied. Salmon leaned closer. "Leaving implies dissatisfaction. We don't allow dissatisfaction to linger." The words were spoken kindly. That made them worse. Later that night, Sora noticed something else. A woman she recognized from the welcome dinner. Someone who had once spoken warmly and animatedly, now moved differently. Her smile was still there, but it didn't reach her eyes. She agreed with everything, responded quickly, never hesitated. When Sora greeted her, the woman paused, just long enough to scan Sora's face, then smiled wider. "Isn't Siren wonderful?" she said. "Yes," Sora replied carefully. The woman nodded, relief flickering across her face, as if she had passed a test. That was when Sora understood the true structure of the town. Siren didn't punish people. It corrected them. Quietly, gently, completely. And the worst part wasn't the correction. It was how grateful people seemed afterward. That night, Sora received another message. Curiosity can be healthy. Excess can be disruptive. Her fingers trembled as she typed a reply. "Who is this?" The typing indicator appeared, then disappeared. No response. Sora set her phone down and stared at the ceiling. She realized something terrifying. No one here was lying to her. They were telling the truth, carefully edited, carefully framed. Siren wasn't hiding what it was. It simply trusted that most people wouldn't push far enough to see it clearly. And Sora had pushed. The question now wasn't what happens when someone resists. It was how long before Siren decided she needed help too. Sora stopped pretending she felt comfortable. In Siren, pretending was dangerous. The town hadn't changed. The smiles were still warm. The streets were still clean. But Sora had begun to notice the gaps. People who once spoke freely now spoke carefully. Those who hesitated didn't hesitate anymore. They complied. One afternoon, Sora noticed a building she hadn't seen before. It sat near the edge of town, half hidden by trees, unmarked except for a single phrase etched into the glass door. Community Wellness Center. No signs. No hours. No visitors. Yet people went in. Always alone. And they never talked about it afterward. Sora asked Yaren about it over tea. "Oh, that," Yaren said easily. "It's where we help people realign." "Realign how?" Sora asked. Yaren smiled. Gently. That night, Sora received another message. "You've noticed the center." Her stomach dropped. She didn't reply. Minutes later, another message appeared. "Curiosity isn't a flaw. Resistance is." The next morning, Sora followed someone. A woman named Miyun, quiet, polite, forgettable. The kind of person Siren favored. Miyun walked calmly toward the wellness center, her posture relaxed, her face blank. Sora kept her distance. The door closed behind Miyun. It didn't open again. Not for hours. When Miyun finally emerged, she looked lighter. Her shoulders were relaxed. Her expression peaceful. Too peaceful. When Sora greeted her later that evening, Miyun paused, just for a moment. Then smiled. "Isn't Siren wonderful?" she said. The exact same words. The The exact same tone. That was when Sora knew. This wasn't therapy. It was replacement. That night, Sora sought out Taesung's old bench. She didn't expect to find him. She found something worse. A small plaque had been installed where he used to sit. Thank you for your contribution to community harmony. No name. No date. Just gratitude. Footsteps approached behind her. Junha's voice was calm, as always. You shouldn't be here so late. Sora didn't turn around. What happens inside the wellness center? She asked. Junha stood beside her, looking at the plaque. People leave feeling better, he said. And before? Sora asked. Junha considered the question. Before, they feel confused. Sora finally faced him. And if someone doesn't want to be realigned? Junha met her gaze. That usually means they're overwhelmed. And if they still refuse? Junha's smile softened. Then the community steps in. The words were kind. The meaning was not. That night, Sora packed a small bag. Not to leave. Not yet. Just to be ready. As she zipped it shut, her phone buzzed. A final message. You've been scheduled. Below it was a time. Tomorrow morning. And a location. Community Wellness Center. Sora sat on the edge of her bed, heart pounding. She finally understood the truth Siren never hid. This place didn't force people to stay. It simply removed the parts of them that wanted to leave. And tomorrow, it would be her turn to be helped. Sora didn't sleep. She lay still, staring at the ceiling, listening to the unnatural quiet of Siren settle around her like a held breath. At exactly 6 a.m, her phone vibrated. Please arrive on time. No name. No sender. Just certainty. Sora dressed slowly, choosing clothes that felt like armor. She hid the packed bag beneath her bed and stepped outside. The streets were already awake. Too awake. People walked calmly, smiling softly, moving with purpose. A few waved when they saw her. Good morning, Sora. They all knew. The wellness center door slid open silently when she approached. Inside, the air was warm and clean, scented faintly with herbs. Soft music played, not loud enough to focus on, not quiet enough to ignore. Junha waited for her. I'm glad you came, he said. I didn't have a choice, Sora replied. Junha tilted his head. You always have a choice. We just help people make the right one. He led her down a short hallway into a room that looked nothing like a clinic. No machines. No restraints. No visible threats. Just chairs. A table. A screen on the wall. Another woman sat inside, Dr. Hyan, her voice calm, her expression warm. Thank you for trusting us, she said. I don't, Sora replied. Dr. Hyan smiled gently. That's okay. Resistance is a phase. The screen lit up. Images appeared, Sora's arrival, her conversations, her walks through town. Moments she didn't realize were being recorded. You've been struggling to adapt, Dr. Hyan continued. We want to ease that. By changing me? Sora asked. By removing what's hurting you, Junha said softly. What if I don't want it removed? Sora asked. Dr. Hyan's smile thinned just slightly. Then the discomfort remains. Sora stood abruptly. I want to leave. Junha didn't block her. He didn't need to. Leaving doesn't remove what you've seen, he said. And what you've seen disrupts harmony. So you'll erase me? Sora asked. Junha shook his head. We don't erase people. We improve them. The door behind her locked. Not loudly. Not violently. Just closed. Sora's chest tightened. You said no one is forced. And you're not, Junha replied. You're choosing relief. Dr. Hyan approached slowly, holding a small device. No needles, no wires. Just a few sessions, she said. Afterward, you'll feel grateful. That word again. Sora backed away. No, she said. For the first time, Junha's calm cracked. Do you know how many people ask us to help them forget? He said quietly. Pain. Anger. Doubt. Sora's voice shook. That's what makes us human. Junha met her gaze. Humanity is negotiable. An alarm sounded, soft but insistent. Dr. Hyan paused. Checked her tablet. Junha's expression changed. There's been a delay, he said. A delay. Opportunity. Sora ran. She shoved past Dr. Hyan, slammed into the hallway wall, and sprinted toward the exit. Voices followed her. Not shouting. Coordinating. The front door opened as she reached it. Yaren stood there, smiling. I hoped you'd understand, she said gently. Sora dodged past her, burst into the street, and ran. No one chased her. They didn't need to. Every street looked the same. Every turn led back toward the center. Siren wasn't designed to keep people in. It was designed to confuse them until they stopped trying to leave. Sora collapsed behind a row of houses, gasping for air. Her phone buzzed. Running increases distress. Below it, return voluntarily. Sora stared at the message. Then she did something Siren didn't expect. She turned her phone off and kept running. Sora ran until the town ended. She didn't realize she had reached the boundary until the houses stopped appearing. No fence, no gate, no warning sign. Just an abrupt shift, the neat streets dissolving into uneven dirt, the flowers disappearing as if they had never existed. She crossed it without ceremony, and Siren didn't stop her. That was the most unsettling part. The road beyond the town was rough and unmarked. Sora followed it until her legs burned and her lungs ached. Only when the town was no longer visible did she slow down. Her phone remained dark. No messages. No alerts. No reassurance. She expected panic. Instead, she felt empty. At the first gas station she reached, the cashier looked at her strangely when she said the name Siren. "I've lived here 20 years, the man said. "There's no town by that name." Sora laughed, a short, brittle sound. Of course there wasn't. She traveled farther that day than she had planned. Slept in places that didn't ask questions. Spoke to no one about where she had been. Weeks passed. Then months. The world outside Siren was louder, messier, and full of friction. People argued, disagreed, complained openly, and no one corrected them. Sora learned something important. Chaos was uncomfortable, but it was honest. One evening, in a crowded cafe far from Siren, Sora overheard a conversation at the next table. A woman was speaking softly, describing a perfect place she had once lived. No crime, no conflict, only peace. Her eyes were empty, her words rehearsed. Sora felt her blood turn cold. That night she searched, and she found them. Mentions of places with different names but identical descriptions. Communities that appeared briefly, welcomed newcomers, then vanished from records. Each one left behind the same trail. People who couldn't fully explain where they'd been. People who spoke carefully. People who smiled too easily. Sora realized then that Siren wasn't unique. It was a prototype, and it was expanding. Years later, Sora stood in front of a small audience, telling her story. Not as a warning, as a question. What do we trade for peace? And who gets to decide the price? Some people listened. Some laughed. Some dismissed her entirely. But a few went quiet. Those were the ones who understood. Sora never returned to Siren. But sometimes, late at night, she wondered if the town still existed. Or if it had simply moved. She understood now why no one had warned her. Siren didn't survive on secrecy. It survived on agreement. On the quiet belief that comfort was more important than choice. That peace was worth the loss of self. Sora had refused. And she would refuse again. Because a life without friction wasn't peaceful. It was rehearsed. And the most dangerous places in the world are the ones where everyone agrees. If this story made you think, take a moment to like the video. It helps more than you know. Subscribe to the channel for more cinematic stories that uncover the truths hidden beneath quiet lives. And share this with someone who enjoys deep, thought-provoking storytelling. Would you live in a place with no conflict if it meant giving up who you are? And where are you watching from?